Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a truly mind-bending spiritual text that outlines a massive cosmic history dating back over 150 million years. Whether you view this as profound theology or just an epic narrative, the concepts it lays out about the origins of humanity and the hidden spiritual battles shaping our reality are absolutely fascinating. We're unpacking a text called The Descent of Elohim. And let me tell you, the history it presents for our planet is way more complex and honestly a lot more perilous than anything you'd find in a standard history book. It challenges the conventional timeline by introducing a universe packed with spiritual forces and ancient decisions that are still impacting us right now. To get our heads around this expansive chronology, we're going to break it down into 5 quick parts: the high-risk civilization experiment, materialism and hell's origins, the fall of Lucifer, cosmic souls in conflict, and finally, warnings for modern times. Let's get into it. Section 1. The high-risk civilization experiment. So the text draws this massive contrast between two completely different realms. On one hand, you've got the high spirit world. Think pure thought, blinding light, and ultimate faith. But then, on the other hand, you have the early three-dimensional physical world of Earth. At this time, Earth was completely primitive and frankly brutal. It was an environment that was totally alien to highly evolved spiritual beings. Which brings us to a huge risk. The text specifically notes that the possibility of the soul degrading spiritually was extremely high. And it makes sense, right? Dropping from a pure spiritual plane to a heavy, primitive physical body was incredibly dangerous. Early Earth was all about brutal survival, almost like wild animals. So souls thrust into this chaos were in constant danger of just losing their spiritual awareness altogether. That's exactly why living on Earth was explicitly set up as a civilization experiment. It was the ultimate test. Could spiritual beings adapt to a dense 3D world but still keep that divine connection? Well, for a lot of them, the everyday struggle just to survive physically totally overshadowed their spiritual roots. They started believing that this physical world was literally all that existed. Which leads us right into Section 2, Materialism and Hell's Origins. This is where we hit the trap of materialism. The text explains that as these souls ground out their difficult physical lives, a lot of them just stopped believing in God or the invisible spirit world entirely. They bought into the idea that this world is all there is. And the tragic result? When they eventually died, they had fundamentally forgotten how to return to the heavenly realms. Without faith, their souls had basically become too heavy. And here is one of the most fascinating concepts in the entire text. Hell wasn't some punishment created by God, it actually formed organically. These lost materialistic souls couldn't ascend, so they just lingered, wandering the Earth's surface. Eventually, to hide from the brilliant light of the heavens, they literally started digging into the earth like moles. They built these hidden underground dwellings which slowly expanded into the hell realm we know today. And that sets the stage for Section 3, the fall of Lucifer. These verses from a section called The Theme of the Fallen Angel lay out an incredibly tragic story. According to the text, Lucifer wasn't created as a demon. He was actually one of the absolute greatest archangels. In fact, he was the twin brother of the archangel Michael, but he let himself be consumed by this intense jealousy toward God, ultimately demanding to be worshipped as the ultimate creator himself. So, roughly 120 million years ago, this magnificent being, known as the Son of Dawn, let his worldly desires take over completely. He clashed with heavenly authority and was actually struck down by Michael's sword. Defeated, he fell to earth like lightning. And those lost underground souls we just talked about, they looked up to him, and he took over, officially establishing and ruling this newly formed hell. Section 4, Cosmic Souls in Conflict. To really grasp this spiritual war, we need to look at 3 clear ideological archetypes. First, you have Amor, who is all about the pursuit of love, nonviolence, and embracing diversity. Then you have Michael, whose domain is combat and the strict realization of justice. And opposing them both is Lucifer, driven by what the text describes as a massively hypertrophied self-love and a complete obsession with supremacy. The text uses this brilliant analogy to contrast the two brothers. Michael is like the sun. He generates his own light and gives it freely to others. Lucifer, though, is compared to the moon. Sure, he was undeniably brilliant, but he only shined by reflecting the light given to him. The moment he tried to artificially inflate his own ego and shine without that divine source, he inevitably plunged into darkness.
But wait, it gets even wilder, because this isn't just an earthly conflict, it's totally cosmic. The text points out that remnants of ancient space wars, involving the Magellan and Centaurus systems, actually created wormholes directly to Earth's hell. These are controlled by malicious extraterrestrials, which is exactly why angels of light have to constantly incarnate here to keep purifying the world. Plus, you had souls migrating from the Vega system bringing this extreme adaptability, but also a stubbornness that sometimes messed with the diverse harmony Earth was trying to cultivate.
So we've got this massive 150 million year timeline, an organically grown hell, fallen angels, and alien wormholes. But what does this all actually mean for us today? Why should we care about this ancient spiritual battle right now? That brings us to our final part, Section 5, Warnings for Modern Times. The text makes a really sharp critique of our current world. It argues that despite all our amazing technology and scientific breakthroughs, modern humans are suffering from a massive impoverishment of spiritual imagination. We're living in this era of what it calls godless democracy and freedom, where the invisible realms are just completely ignored, all for the sake of sheer material progress. And it highlights a huge danger here. Even when people today do get into spirituality, they often just treat it like a force, a tool for willpower, like trying to manifest success, completely lacking any true depth or reverence for the divine. The text is urging us to learn from the tragic falls of past civilizations like Mu and Atlantis. If we forget God and rely solely on materialism, we're walking right into the exact same trap that originally filled the underworld. As we keep navigating our own modern civilization experiment, this explainer leaves us with a pretty heavy choice. Are we going to actively remember our spiritual origins and choose the light of faith? Or are we doomed to let the heavy isolation of materialism pull us right back into the dark cycle of the fallen angels? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.